Here we go, week 5 of the East Valley's high school football scene. Mark Heller here with Kyle Odegard, and this Friday night will mark the halfway point of the season. Hard to believe because it's only the end of September, but we are actually there, and this is a pretty darn good week to conclude the first half of the season. We're going to start with obviously the whopper of all whoppers, right? Hamilton at Mountain Pointe.
Yep.
Rematch of last year's week 1, won by Mountain Pointe on a last-second kick, and Hamilton returned the favor, obviously, in the state title game last year. This time around, things a little bit different. Mountain Pointe even looks like a better team, and we thought they might be a better team than they were last year, and they've basically played that role so far with a whopping of Chandler last week. Hamilton, kind of similar to last year, lots of defense and lots of struggles at times offensively, and that's basically what's going to converge here at Mountain Pointe High School. I guess the key for me is going to be whether Hamilton can put up some points, and the other part to me is going to be whether they can not only withstand the injuries that they're dealing with, but can they force some turnovers? Can they make Mountain Pointe have to go the length of the field?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a great game, and it's interesting that just looking at our poll and Tackle the Trib right now, it's 80% of the people think Mountain Pointe is going to win this game,
that's pretty amazing.
Which is crazy considering Hamilton, what they've done, but it has been a slow start. And Mountain Pointe is clearly the favorite. How do you deal with being the favorite in this game? Nobody's ever a favorite against Hamilton if you're from in-state, so it's kind of crazy. Like you said, the Hamilton offense, and I'm interested to see how the Hamilton offensive line does against the Mountain Pointe defensive line, because if Hamilton can't win that battle, it's going to have a really tough time scoring. But if they can win that and run the ball, they can score some points. They're not going to score a bunch, but they probably need 17 to 20 to win this game. So that's a key for me. And then if Mountain Pointe can move the ball in the great Hamilton defense, and obviously turnovers and any big plays, because it's going to be a lot of field position battle, a lot of punts, I think. So any big play either way could really swing it.
Yeah, and the line matchup you mentioned is interesting because everybody knows about Hamilton's offensive line, although that is also dinged up significantly. Mountain Pointe, a pretty darn good and a pretty darn physical up front as well. Conversely, I'm curious to see, and I think Hamilton's, at least from talking to Hamilton's side this week, they're aware that they're sort of an underdog, and it is kind of new for them, and I think that's something that they kind of relish. And there is a reality here that it is the end of September, not the end of November, and that not to necessarily diminish the importance of this game, but this game is basically about power ranking seeding as it is going forward, and you can say bragging rights are part of it, but again, Desert Vista 2 years ago, Hamilton crushes them in the regular season. Desert Vista crushes Hamilton in the title game. Last year, Hamilton loses to Mountain Pointe in week 1. They come back and hammer them in the title game. So both teams are acutely aware that this is not going to be the be-all, end-all game. I do think Hamilton is going to struggle just a little bit, especially offensively. I think this is going to be closer than most people are projecting. I think it's going to go Mountain Pointe somewhere around like 21-17, 21-14, somewhere in that range.
And I get that point where there's 2 months to go and there's injuries and stuff, but I think if Mountain Pointe wins this game, they're clearly the favorite now, and it could be a shift in the landscape of Division I, where
Sure.
Hamilton is always, even last year, Hamilton was still the favorite, even though it started 0-2. They were still the team to beat, and if Mountain Pointe beat them, it would have been an upset. Now, if Mountain Pointe wins this game, I think they're the clear favorite, which would be an interesting shift, and I think Mountain Pointe will win. I think Mountain Pointe wins 20-10.